All right. Welcome, everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started. I am your host today, Liz Landry with KW Talent. You all know me. And we have the one and only with us, starting the year off right. My friend, the author, co-author of The One Thing, Jay Papasan. Welcome, Jay. We're happy to have you here today.
So happy to be here.
Good.
Love
All
kicking
right.
off the year with this conversation.
Yeah, it's a good place to start, right? A little focus at the beginning of the year that hopefully everyone's maintaining their gym memberships they all signed up for and keeping their right, keeping their business focused. So, we are here today, folks, to talk about integrating the one thing into your business, into your team, and setting yourself off right for 2026. So, Jay, let's just go ahead and open the floor. And we're going to keep this as a casual conversation for the folks here. If I'm a business owner today and I'm looking at this and I'm saying, man, 12 months ahead of me, I need to keep focus. Last year, I lost focus. I fizzled out Q1, like I was in 7,000 places, reaching for any shiny object that came my way. And we bury them down to the one thing concept. Where do we
Right.
start? If I'm this business owner and I want to bring this into my world and into my business, where's a good place for me to start?
Well, just not knowing if everybody who's listening or watching knows the one thing, I'll just kind of keep it in broad context because, like, that way they don't have to go read the book to apply anything. That cool with you?
That's cool with me. That
I,
works.
I think the foundation is clarity. I think when people aren't clear about what it is they want, they don't have good boundaries. And when you don't have good boundaries, you start saying yes to every good opportunity that shows up.
Even if it's not the right opportunity for you.
You won't ever know, but you start saying yes to things, and then they look up and they're in this kind of time poverty situation where they feel like they're always behind, they're always rushing, they're always busy. And like, there's a great story I read about in Harvard Business Review. The guy was working with a client who's an immigrant, and the guy thought that the word busy meant good. And he's like, how in the world did that happen? And he goes, well, every time I ask someone how they're doing, they say, I'm busy. And
Mm.
this kind of busyness has become a badge of honor. So we get to this place, lack of clarity, low boundaries, start saying yes. We get really busy. We have a deficit of time. And what ends up happening is people very quickly are overworked, overstressed. And like you hear words like burnout, right? That's when people start, instead of quitting things that don't serve them, they start giving up on their goals. And your health suffers, your work suffers. I could just go down the long list, but I always go back to clarity. Like it's a long, like those dominoes start falling, but it all begins with clarity. And so I could go down a long rabbit hole. I have like a soapbox on busyness because I can't stand it. But
If anyone who knows me knows I hate the word hustle. Like that is
yeah,
like the worst word anyone could ever say to me. Well, I'm just out there hustling. I'm like, please never say that to me ever again. But you also just described, I don't know, 98% of entrepreneurs that I
yeah,
meet in this, right? Like they just get distracted. There's an opportunity. They take it all. They say yes. Well, they don't want to miss out on it. They don't want the FOMO and they end up burned out and
yeah.
distracted.
Um, the busyness, like it's a trap because a lot of them became entrepreneurs because they're good at getting crap done, right? And they get a reputation and we're rewarded for it. Like I know people have said, like, Liz, how do you get it all done? Right? How do you get it all done? And it becomes this kind of badge of
Mhm.
honor. It used to be, go back in time, if you wanted to say that you were really successful, you would demonstrate how much leisure time you had. Like that's why I look at the neoclassical paintings, like they're all fat and
Yeah.
pale.
And eating.
Yes. And so, like that just said, like I have abundance, I don't have to work. Today, if you want to communicate that you're successful, you communicate how busy you are. And the challenge here is like there's a lot of activity happening, but you're actually not accomplishing much. So, like with my coaching clients and our training, we have like group coaching programs. Like our goal is to get people clear about what actually matters. And I know there's all this stuff, but like here would be a question. It's early in the year, but like let's project forward. It's January 1, 2027.
Okay.
What do you most want to remember from this year? Now, I asked you that question, Liz. You don't have to tell me your answer, but did you go somewhere in your brain?
I did.
See, I think most people do because hiding under all the goals and achievement is usually something that's much bigger and more centered. Yeah, like, oh, well, crap, this is the last year with my son at home. Like, I want to create memories with my son. Or, like, a lot of times it's not even a business goal.
Right. Rarely, actually. Rarely at the core of it is it actually business. We just get sucked into the tornado of business.
Yeah. And that's all a lot of us keep our scorecards. It's okay if it is. Like, if someone, I asked that question, they're listening, and it was a business goal, like, I hear, this is going to be the year that I finally kind of break out and level up and become this. Like they think of it's usually an aspirational. Like I'll start that business if it was a side hustle before. I'll go out on my own and do my own thing. So there are business goals, but if you really look under them, there's some aspirational change of being. It's usually about relationships with ourselves and our others. So the aspirational, like I'm going to level up, that's how we look at ourselves and how we view ourselves. Like we want to level up, we want a different kind of life. So I would just encourage people to write down what they thought of. January 1, 2027, what do you most want to remember about this year? That is a really strong clue about where our focus should be. And people are
Mm.
going to say, but wait, I thought about quality time with Chris, or, right, like I thought about something that has nothing to do with my business goals. When we take action on the things that we value most, it gives us agency in everything else. And we walk around knowing, hey, because I've taken care of the thing that I know is most important, now they actually tend to perform better in the other things. So, like,
Well, let's
starting
talk
there
about
is
that
an
for a
important
second.
thing. Yeah.
Right? Like, so if we decide on what the thing that matters to us the most is, and it gives us agency in that of I've not just the right, because you said I've taken care of that. So now what can I do? I look at that almost a different way, right? I look at that of this is the thing that matters to me to the most. And if it's my annualized goal, if it's the thing that I want to put forefront for the year, it's not just something I take care of necessarily, but it's
Yeah.
something that I put at the epicenter of how does everything else I'm doing actually surround it as well, right? Like
Revolve
how,
around it.
yeah,
Like you did the motion.
yeah,
Like, no, you want everything to revolve around that because that's the center. And when I said take care of it, I meant like I had my date night with my spouse this week, or I did hit the gym this morning. It's usually an ongoing challenge, right? We
right.
get knocked off track. But knowing what the core thing is that everything should revolve around, because we can
Mhm.
almost always make a stand around one thing. Like this has got to be the year that I fix my health. That's what I most want, or the thing. So, how do you start designing your year early in it where you know that's the clear priority? It should get your first time and attention, but it frees up all of this psychic energy. Like I was talking, it sounds very airy-fairy when I say it that way, but I worked with Robin Hanley Defoe for almost 6 months. And I
Okay.
interviewed her on burnout on the one thing. And the thing that kind of blew me away, she gets why we teach core values. She gets why we work on this. Because what I didn't know is the number one way that people can burn out fast is to live outside of their values.
Mm.
And I never knew that that was a thing. But she said like it's the little things. You go to your kid's soccer game, but instead of really paying attention, you're hoping they won't look over while you're looking at your laptop. And there is this deep sense of wrongness when we do that because like we're cheating. We're cheating on something that's more valuable because we're in this time trap, this busyness trap. So yes, I agree with everything you said. So that's a great addition, Liz. But I think let's figure out what actually matters and can we put it front and center in our lives? It doesn't mean we spend 40 hours a week on it, but is it the first thing we put on our calendars? Is it the thing that we really try to protect? And I think it's not as much time as people think.
Okay, so let's talk more about that. People tend to think that maybe this big goal that they want to accomplish is the sole focus of their world, right? Or it's a
Right,
ton of time, or this is the year I'm going to get my health in order. This is the year I'm going to strengthen my relationship with my partner, my kids, my friends, or this is the year that I'm going to go on vacation and enjoy the time off without being interfering with work, whatever it might be.
right.
How do they actually assess like this is how much time this is reasonable for me to actually do that. Do you have best practices on that of looking at it or a way that somebody might look at it? Now, I know that's not a science because it depends on the goal,
Yeah,
but a way for someone to kind of step back and go, okay, this isn't 40 hours a week, right? This isn't going to be an all consuming thing. It can still be the focus without being all consuming.
I've got best practices for sure. But well, let's also talk about some specifics.
Okay.
So, like, we teach a concept called the first domino. So, if you've read the one thing, we talk about this idea of exponential growth,
Yep.
right? A 2 inch domino can knock over a 3 inch, can knock over a 4.5 inch, and 18 out. That 2 inch domino can knock over one that's as tall as the Leaning Tower, and so forth. Life works that way too. But because you serve high achievers, just like we do, right? They don't ever want to start there. They don't trust their
That's so small. That's not going to do anything.
they trust their motivation. They don't trust momentum. And the tortoise always wins the race. I'm sorry. Always. And it feels boring to think about knocking down that 2 inch domino daily and making a stand around it. But if you look at people who've really built extraordinary things, and they will tell you that time when you were really everything was working, what was the foundation? Sometimes we can unpack that. Well, gosh, like the kids were finally sleeping through the night. Like I actually had a brain all day long. Like, oh, so sleep was actually the foundation for all of that productivity that happened, right? It's usually not something that people expect, and it's usually smaller than they think it is. So I always try to go back to the first domino, and we kind of define it. What is that small action you can already do? So it's not something you have to learn to do or whatever. They're like, you can already do it that ignites momentum towards your goals. So the example that I thought of when you were going through the litany is like, we both know Sarah Reynolds.
Yep.
She's lost something like 117 pounds in
Yeah.
2 years, something
Yeah.
crazy. And she tried a lot of things before she figured out what her first domino was. So like she did the gym, she got a trainer, she got the dietitian, tried to change her diet, and she was trying to do a lot of stuff all at once. This is where all high achievers go. I'm
Try
going to do
big
this,
things
this, and
too,
this
right?
all at the same time. In
Hmm.
my commitment to think big about my health, I'm going to act big and do a lot of shit. Pardon my French.
All good.
You can't bleep it, so it's there. I cuss on a Friday when I'm tired. So you look up, and the thing that she stumbled on is that her water intake wasn't right.
Mm.
And when she figured out whether she had enough water or too little, I know she didn't say, but I'm going to suspect that she wasn't getting enough water.
That would be my suspicion. Yeah.
When you get enough water, right, you tend to digest the food you eat more efficiently. You process energy more efficiently. You have fewer food cravings. Like there's a whole
Mhm.
bunch of stuff that comes from just hydrating properly. Yes. And so we underestimate, like, what do you mean? I'm just going to focus on my water. Like I
Yeah.
said, I want
Drink
to
more
get in
water.
shape. And so I think we have to be curious. But like in science, we would call it what's the keystone habit? There's always one that kind of tends to have a bunch of other ones attached to it. Like for me and my health goals, like I got to get up, which means I got to go to bed. So sleep for me and Wendy, we invest an enormous amount in our sleep. We've got blackout curtains, we've got an 8 sleep. I love it. Right? We've really curated our sleep experience. Other than a Kindle, we have no screens in the bedroom. Like we've done a series of things over the years. We take magnesium spray because
I've got a life-changing pillow if you would like me to send you the link when we get off of this. It will change your life.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, that's not tend to be the thing, but I'm always willing to add on.
Right.
But Wendy's always been a poor sleeper. I've been a good one. But we knew if we were going to commit to our goals, and like my morning time is my time. We get up early. That's when I work out. That's when I get a lot of one-on-one time with my wife. That's when I often get my reading. That's where I look at my goals. Like I do a lot before most people are out of bed. But it doesn't mean I lose everything. Last night I went to a holiday party and I got to bed by 10:30, but I mean, I walked out of the Uber and went straight to bed. But that was a late night for me. And people were like, "Oh, I want to stay out to midnight." Fine. You'll do that for one night, but I
Right.
made a stand around always getting up at the same time because I knew that would force me to go to bed. That was my formula. But that unlocks a whole bunch of other goals for me. So there's sometimes experimentation. I think a lot of times coaches and experts get us there faster. But when people can make a stand, a lot of times they'll go, how did this thing end up being the magic thing? The thing, like, gosh, Wendy and I have had a standing date night on Wednesday
Yep.
nights going back probably 16 years now. And because we made the simple decision, frankly, it really began when we moved it from trying to do it on the weekends to Wednesday nights, because then it was on repeat. I always could get a babysitter, never had to worry about reservations. The movie was never sold out. Like all of the things lined up for us,
All
but
the
just
friction points were removed.
putting that on the calendar unlocked a whole new level in our relationship. So I think people have to believe in the power of momentum, that they can ignite something really large with a spark, and that's the thing they need to make a stand around. That thing. And then over time, they become rituals and habits. Like I kind of did my last podcast around this, which might be hitting about this time, but I kind of broke down a lot of people talk about habits, but there's also systems, right? There's also routines and rituals. Like the habit could be the end result of those things. If I follow a system, a checklist, every time I do an activity, eventually it'll become habitual. But it started
Right.
with a checklist. And a lot of people's morning, they have a routine. It's already habitual. And inserting something into it is easier than trying to redo the whole thing. That's why, like BJ Fogg, amazing behavioral psychologist, and I'll say for the record, James Clear piggybacked a lot on him, but he made it accessible. Whereas BJ Fogg is still maybe up in the clouds, but he got 10,000
Right.
people to floss their teeth by piggybacking. They already were brushing their teeth. Their parents had spent a decade or more forcing them to brush their teeth, and it became a habit at some point. Adding flossing became the next step. So we can take an existing routine and make an additional addition. So after I drink or when I'm drinking my morning coffee, I will look at my goals instead of my phone. How do we attach things? And I like rituals. That date night is a ritual. It has meaning to me. It's not just a system. It's not just about outcomes. Ritual to me means it's got meaning attached. And so we have rituals that are around usually connection and family, but like think of all of these opportunities we have to make a small change that could add up to a lot more.
Well, I think it's so important when you look at it. It is the 2 inch domino. It is the small changes. It is the rituals. Uh, I don't drink coffee. I think, pretty clear with on a lot of things. We literally host a session called CV and caffeine, and people get on their session and they got their big coffee mug, and I'm sitting there with what looks like a 16-ounce tall boy, but it's actually a sparkling ice caffeine. Let's just be clear. It's very early in the morning. I see, yep, see, exactly. I don't drink coffee. And it's so interesting. I have a specific ritual in the morning, right? About when I brush my teeth and things like that. I talk to people, and I've noticed a statement that people say that drink coffee. A lot of times I'll talk to people drink coffee, and this out people across the board, they go, "Oh, I can't remember if I brushed my teeth today." I'm like, "How do you forget that?" And they say, "Because I do it when I finish my coffee. And sometimes I have 2 cups, or sometimes I have a cup after this." And so it's
I
like,
do it before.
okay, see, they complain that
I
they
know.
don't
They're
like the
like, but then
taste. I
you'll have
get
coffee breath. But like, I'm going to drink coffee at the office. I want to get my teeth clean.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jay.
Yeah.
Trust me. This is
It,
my
it,
recommendation. But
but
it's
you're
it's
not pretending
interesting.
to like actually make an assault on coffee drinkers right now. Like,
No, I'm
no,
not.
that
I'm not
that's not
assaulting
going to
coffee
fly with
drinkers.
me.
I'm assaulting the where they brush their teeth. However, I believe it should be in the morning. But my point on that is it's those small little changes in the habits. Like imagine if they flipped it to the way you did, that would probably be a statement they never had a problem with again. They'd never get to the office and go, "Oh no, did I
Right.
forget to brush my teeth today?" And it's a simple switch. I think to your point about in your story with Sarah is sometimes we start so big. We're doing all the things and we want to make the big changes and the big impact. The challenge with that is you can't measure 78 things independently when they're all happening at the same time. You certainly can't stay consistent on that. I don't think anybody in the world has enough discipline to do that for an extended period of time. And then you don't actually know what the solution was, right? Water. Think of how easy that became once that was the tipping point. And yeah, like Sarah's, like the journey she's
She
gone on
started
is
losing
fantastic.
weight with just the water. And to be
Yeah, it's
clear, I'm
amazing.
not telling people like just to do that one thing, but to
But it's a starting
focus
point.
on that and starting that, like their day with that. So the best practice would be kind of figure out that first domino for you and start there and let success be measured on how frequently and consistently you do that thing versus everything that should follow it. Because there'll be days where you go to the gym and you have a crappy workout. And I think there's a Jim Quick quote. Say on the days that you could only do 40% and you did 40%, you actually did 100%. Do you get that?
Yeah, because you
Like
went. You showed up.
you
You
went
did.
and you gave all you had, even though like you can't measure how much you have every day, but you showed up and you gave it your best shot.
It's not
Those
true.
are actually more important days than the days that you set a PR, because what you're doing is you're
Right.
keeping the promise to yourself. So start small. I tell people start early. The earlier you do it in the day, the less likely you are to get off track.
Less
Like
friction.
there's more people that have the ability to interfere the later in the day you get. Nobody is texting you at 6 a.m. unless it's a family member or it's like your house is on fire and it's your neighbor. So like there's beauty in like if you have to pick a late at night or early in the morning, it's healthier to do it in the morning, but I get it. That's the reason people do things late at night and early at the morning
Right.
because there are less distractions. I find I'm never tempted to go stream my favorite show on HBO in the morning, whereas if it's late at night, I am.
Yeah.
So without even going into the science of willpower, so try to start your day with it because then you can always say like, "Hey, I've already done that thing. I did the thing that mattered most." That should over time help me unlock everything else I want. And then you can make your best efforts at doing the 90 things, but you don't lose momentum this way because you will fail at 10 of the nine things you're trying to do. But if you're still doing the number one, you can still go, hooray, I'm still on track. But that's how you stay on track is by focusing on the small. The last best practice, it's early in the year.
Yes.
We usually coach people goals before phones. So
Tell me what that means.
most people, the first thing they do every single day is get on their phone. And they're not getting on their phone to edify themselves. They're going into their text, their inbox, or social media. Or worse, in my case, I think the news. So, can you, for 15 seconds, like I don't mind calendar, look at your day and say, what were my intentions? What's most important today? Look at your goals. And when we remind ourselves of what's important to us, then we can go into those other spaces, our DMs on social, like where other people's priorities live. And it's like we put on a suit of armor because we've reminded ourselves about what's important. And now we're less susceptible to diving into a million new things because we had that little bit of reminder, right? So, gosh, man, we're not talking about teams at all. We're talking about everyone. I hope that's
That's,
okay.
yeah, I was gonna say,
You're in
everybody,
charge
these
here. You could have
people,
taken us back on the road.
everybody are the people that make up teams, Jay.
Okay.
In case you didn't realize, people make up teams, and so it's all relative. These are rogue. We go wherever we want. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like
Good.
I
Good.
in
Good.
this episode, I think I sold my water bottle and a Whoop subscription to somebody, like without even trying. So
What about your pillow that you're gonna hawk?
oh, that
Like,
pillow is clutch. That company should pay me money. I have recommended that pillow to so many people, and I promise it will change your life if you give it a chance.
okay,
So if
I
you
hear
want the
you.
pillow, you can DM me. I'll send you the link separate.
You send us the affiliate link so you can still make your fortune.
But it's right. And I need to figure out how to do that. It's, to your point, it's always the small stuff. And achievers, especially, we try to overdo it. Like I can't tell you how many business plans I have seen in the last 30 days that people are handing me these massive business plans. I'm like, well, how many years are you planning on doing all of these things over? And they're like, well, like this is 2026. I'm like, no. No, 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 no. Like this is like a 5-year plan here. Like if you actually
Yeah.
want to do any of this right, this is not it. I'm like, what are we going to do in Q1? Like, that's all I care. Just give me the next 90 days. I don't care about the back half of the year. Just what are we doing in Q1? And it's astonishing when they go smaller. It's like, oh, it's so much clearer now. Like now I know exactly what I'm doing because I'm going so much smaller. And that's just simply the point that you're making with all of these things is it's the teeny tiny little small things. And it's
Yeah,
funny to hear you talk about yours and Wendy's sleep journey on there because that's exactly what started with me. I've always been a terrible sleeper. I got this to start help me with sleep in 2019.
your Whoop
Water.
band.
I
Yeah.
love I love my Whoop, but hate my Whoop. It's very mean to me some days. Same thing with drinking water. That was one of my pivotal things is like, I need to be more energized in the morning. Started with James Clear. Drink one glass of water in the morning. I'm like, okay, I'll try one glass of water in the morning. It's the first thing I'll do is chug a
It's
glass of water.
actually Tim Ferriss,
Oh,
16 ounces of water. Anyway,
um,
that was the 4 hour body. That was one of my
I got
takeaways.
my books mixed up. It was a long time ago.
That's
Either way,
okay, but James
but
Clear
it's,
repeated it. I'm just getting the
yeah,
credit back to where it belongs.
perfect. Of course, the book guy would
While
know it
I'm
better.
waiting on my coffee, I take my medicine, like my pills, like mostly supplements.
Yeah,
I have
morning
one
stuff.
allergy, but I take all
Vitamins. We're
those with
old now.
16
Yeah.
ounces of water.
Yep.
And so like that's just like kind of kickstarts your whole metabolism.
Yeah, it's a whole different series of tiny things. But I think to that point, right, in the business plans and like you talked about the weight loss journey and all these things, people are like, here's this massive thing I'm going to try to undertake. And they forget to distill it down and distill it down more and distill it down even more until it's like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can just change the time I brush my teeth during the day. Sure, no problem. I can make that happen, right?
We can do the same thing at work, right? Like you look at most like
Uh-huh.
offices, like teams that your audience, like their business plans have 50 moving parts.
Yep.
So how do we do the same thing? Instead of like measuring our success on a lagging indicator like profit, GCI is actually a lagging indicator in our industry. Like where do we say like what's the thing that we're going to lead with that is going to make everything else possible? And we know
Yep.
that's usually lead generation, right? Or it could be 5-star reviews, right? Because we already have an audience and we just want to keep the social proof out there. I would encourage them to focus on fewer goals, but give us some leading indicators of our success that we're rallying the team around, right? How many new names did we add to the database this week? How many reviews did we get this week? Those are indicators that everything else is healthy. I remember early in my journey with KW, I can't remember who the leader was. It might have been Mark Willis, might have been Dave Jinks, but just said like if I need to know the health of a market center, I usually go straight to the profit share, right? Because I can tell a lot. If they are a high profit sharing company, that means the ownership understands what that does for the culture of the company, it means they're actually profitable. It's like, what are the things that tell us a lot about the ecosystem and give those things more of our focus rather than dividing them up everywhere? One more tip. This is a
Okay,
fun one.
one more and then we wrap.
Okay, that's
Then we're
fine. But
done.
this is like I like we started with this intention, so I want to give your business leaders some ammo.
Okay, go.
Um, we talk about job descriptions, and a lot of times I get called into these big companies, and my host will be a VP, a chief marketing officer, something like that. Sometimes the CEO or the founder, and I'll be at their table. I'm talking to them like, what does your audience most need to hear from this book? Why did you call me here? I want to make sure I hit it. At sometimes I will show up about clarity, right? Comes up in the workplace. And I just said, like, I really enjoyed meeting your chief of staff. Out of curiosity, like, how do you measure his or her success? Right. So I'm going to the job description, but obliquely, I'd be like, what are the three things that he has to do as your chief of staff to absolutely knock it out of the park and frankly, probably keep their job? And I'm reversing it. A lot of times we want to say that someone's job description is everything that is that they're responsible for. You ask the question differently. What are the three things that if Liz doesn't do them, she's going to lose her opportunity? Because that's fundamentally her job. So when we flip the script to the top three priorities, like, oh, what's funny is a lot of leaders know. They're like, oh, well, they have to do this, this, and this. Great.
But the people never know.
That's the next question. I said, so if I asked your chief of staff,
Mhm.
would they give me those same three priorities in that order? And now we're talking to someone, I use chief of staff, poor example, because usually EAs and chief of staff are highly in sync with one another, with their executives. But if it was a VP of marketing or director of growth,
Anybody else? Yeah.
you see them look at this guy like, I don't know. So, like, the thing that undermines 90% of what goes on in the office is our belief that everybody who works for us has telepathy. They don't. So, the job description probably changed or it was never clear. And if you allow people to be clear about what their top three are, they can meet or exceed your expectations or they need to go. But get really clear about the top three for every position and make sure they know it. If you're listening to this and you're part of the team, go to your boss and say, "Hey, I listened to this crazy podcast with Liz and Jay, and I've wondered myself, like, what are the three things that if I didn't do them well, you'd probably get rid of me? I think it's these three. Do I have it right?"
Mhm.
Like, every good owner or boss owes you that conversation. But that clarity, again, to go full circle, when people know what they're saying yes to, it's easier to say no to distractions.
It's so funny you bring that specific thing up because I literally had one-on-ones with my staff before this, and that's what we were going through is say, hey, we said it's that time of year again. We're going to realign our job descriptions for all of us to make sure we're focusing on the right things. They're outdated versus what the business was 6 months ago when we last rewrote them. Our business has grown, our business has changed, and our priorities are different now. And so we're realigning job descriptions. So don't be shocked when we start having those appointments in a couple of weeks. And they're like, yeah, okay. Right. And because this is what I do, that's something that's very normal in my organization. I talk to people at other organizations that are like, I haven't seen a job description in 6 years from when I started here. I'm like, oh, I'm like, that hurts. But that's a great
In
point,
small
right?
organizations that lack formality, that's normal.
Very
So,
normal.
like, it can just be a
Still
conversation.
hurt, right? It still hurts because it's still that's what that person's being accountable to. They're being held the expectations and failed expectations or lack of clear expectations is devastating to a business.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna wrap, but here's where we're gonna go. So first, my mic drop, my one thing that I took out of this is no matter how small you think you went, start smaller. You're probably still too big,
Yeah.
especially if you fall into our typical listener and viewer who's that overachiever, person who wants to do all the things. You can't measure 17 things at once. Start with one teeny tiny little one. And if you think you got it, see if you can get it even smaller, distill it even more. Jay, what's if anyone takes nothing out of this? What's the one thing you want them to take out of this in our last 2 minutes before we wrap?
I'll go back to the beginning, right? Because they're hearing this at the beginning of the year. Are you really clear about what you want to get out of this year? Right? Go to the future and ask, like, what do you actually like? Think about 2 years ago. What do you remember from 2 years ago? It's not a lot of stuff. Like, even on the end of this year, most people can't remember much about the first quarter. So, what we actually carry forward in life is not much. So, like, go into the future and imagine, like, what is it that I really want this year to be about? And then make sure those things are actually on your calendar.
All right. I love it. So, for all of you who joined us today, welcome to 2026. You are going to crush it. Start small, go forward. We will see you on our next expert interview. Have a fantastic day. And Jay, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you.